So at Star Wars Celebration, the last day, still busy though. Brian Stillman, you guys heard him on the episode not too long ago. Plastic Galaxy is the DVD. It's right here. Brian, how you doing?
Pretty good. Nice to be here. Functional. I'm standing. I consider that a victory.
Yeah, on the last day, how'd Celebration go for you?
It's been going great. We've having a lot of fun. We did a panel on Thursday night where we showed a little bit of the film. We did a Q&A with myself, Gus Lopez, and Jim Swearingen, who is a former Kenner designer. So that was super cool because I didn't have to do anything because everyone asked questions of Jim. And I just hung out. It was awesome.
That's when it's fun, when you just ask the question and they go.
Yeah, it's...
Kind of like what I'm hoping you do right now.
Yes, exactly. You get so tired as a journalist and as whatever, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to stand here, hold the mic. I'm a mic stand.
Yeah. So before we get into Plastic Galaxy, let's get into the trailer. I'm sure you've seen it by now.
Oh, yeah.
The new one.
Yeah, I saw it. I was watching it on a big screen when they had the whole thing with Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams. It was awesome. Look, I've been burned by Star Wars 6 times. The re-releases, like the special editions, and then the prequels. I will admit that. Not happy. So I was a little cynical. I was like, okay, episode 7. But man, I was feeling it after the first teaser, and after this one, I'm in. You got me. I'm a fanboy. When Harrison Ford stepped up at the end, I was just right along with everyone else. Like, yeah! So I was totally psyched.
Yeah, so let's go back again.
Sorry. Yes.
Plastic Galaxy. To those who haven't heard about it yet, what is Plastic Galaxy?
Plastic Galaxy is a documentary about the history of Star Wars toys and sort of their pop cultural impact. So it's where they came from, how they were developed, and how they changed the toy-making world and the movie-making world and changed marketing and everything else. And then why 30-something years later, 40 years later, we still care. You know, why people still love these toys, why they've had an impact on our lives and on pop culture and on society and on everything.
Yeah, and nowadays it's not a unheard of thing, but back then for George Lucas, it was kind of, okay, why does this guy want, points on merchandise? Well, he must have seen something. He had a force vision or whatever. But back then, movies didn't have any toys or anything tied into them. It was not till Star Wars, right?
Yeah, they really didn't. There were a few. They tried to do it with Planet of the Apes. They tried to do it with like Dr. Dolittle. But the conventional wisdom was that a movie isn't in the theater for long enough to provide a strong push for a toy line, especially when it takes a year for a toy line to come out. So you have this movie, it's out for a few weeks. By the time they get the toys out, people forgot all about the movie. Well, Star Wars changed all that. It was so big. It was so popular. It was in theaters for a year. Kenner realized very quickly they were onto something. This was going to be huge, and it was worth putting a toy behind it. And because Star Wars was in the theaters for so long, it kept that momentum going. So they really broke new ground when they did it. It was really something different and revolutionary.
Yeah, and you probably covered it in the documentary, but Kenner had a problem at the time because they didn't have enough toys to put on the shelves.
Well, that was the problem. Today, the marketing department of a movie will contact the toy company and say, look, we got this movie coming out, here's all the material you need, everything you have to do so that by the time the movie comes out, the toys are out, or by the time Christmas hits, the toys are out. Well, they didn't do that with Kenner, and nobody knew what to expect. So the movie comes out in May of 1977. It's a huge hit. And Kenner realizes they don't have enough time to get toys out by Christmas. And for a toy company, that's a big problem. Yeah. So they put out an empty box. They put out something called the Early Bird set. It was just a cardboard envelope about this big, and in it was some stickers and a membership card and a little mail-away coupon that you could send into Kenner, and in February they would send you 4 figures, and it happens to be these 4 figures. You would get Luke, Leia, Chewbacca, and R2, and in this little thing you'd get a bunch of pegs, and the Early Bird set actually opened up and you could put the action figures on it. So that was Kenner's way to kind of try and get this thing out there when they didn't have anything to get out there. Which is, I mean, imagine being a little kid and you run down in the morning and you rip open this thing and it says Star Wars. And there's nothing there. But apparently, it was really popular. People really dug it. It just shows the power of Star Wars at the time.
Yeah, and like you said, that changed how movies approach merchandise toys today. Not always a good thing because sometimes the toys give out some plot points in the movie, so maybe not always a good idea.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm sure all your viewers have seen Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm not spoiling anything, but if you haven't seen it and you care about every little detail, you might want to pause for a second, go see the movie, and come back and watch the rest of this. But at the end, after the credits, there is a little dancing Groot, and it's dancing along, and everyone saw that, and everybody wanted the little dancing Groot.
Yeah.
The problem is there was no dancing Groot, and no one could understand why. And later they asked James Gunn, how come there was no dancing Groot? Because finally it came out, and he said the problem was, if we had told the toy company about it, there was a chance that would have spoiled that surprise for the audiences. So that's exactly what you're talking about. And in that case, they actually withheld the product. They actually withheld telling the company about the product so that they couldn't put it out, which that's what Kenner faced, except with Kenner it wasn't intentional, just nobody knew how to do it. Everyone was winging it.
Yeah, so in Plastic Galaxy, what exactly are we going to see? I mean, don't give out the whole thing away, but what are we going to see?
Oh, there are no spoilers. It ends with Star Wars toys. No, Plastic Galaxy, we went out and we interviewed Kenner guys. We interviewed collectors like Steve Sansweet, who has the Guinness Book of World Records biggest collection in the world, and he's written about this stuff, and he knows all about it.
Here at Celebration.
And he was here at Celebration. Oh, yeah. We interviewed Gus Lopez, other big collectors, but we also interviewed a lot of sort of collectors who are just in it for the toys. They're not authors. They're not anything like that. And we talked to them all about where these toys come from. How did they come up with it? What made them want to make them in the first place? And then once Kenner decided to do it, well, literally, how did they come up with the action figures? How did they come up with some of the vehicles? Take us through that process. So you learn all about that. And at the same time, you get from the collectors, the people who had these things as kids, talking about why they were important and how they impacted their lives as kids, so that here we are 30-something years later, still feeling this love for these toys. You know, it answers the question, what made this the biggest toy line in the world? And why is it something we still care about today? At least that's what I wanted to answer, and people seem to think it does a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, so again, it's called Plastic Galaxy, and those of you who are here at Celebration, we actually got it. Where can they get it?
Well, if you're at Celebration, we're in booth 532, and if you're seeing this after Celebration, you can get a copy of the DVD on Amazon.com. You can also stream it on Amazon Prime, on iTunes, and a whole bunch of other places. So it's out there. The DVD comes with 40 minutes of extras, which I think are really cool, because that's where I get really geeky, all the stuff I really love, that we thought might have been a little too out there for the film itself. But on the other hand, if you stream it, you get it in HD, and you can see all my camera work. God, you can see all the flaws in glorious HD.
Don't special edition it, whatever you do.
I'm never going to special edition it. There's never going to be a director's cut. This is it. I promise you're getting all the good stuff. If I do dig out any more stuff, I'll put it up online for free.
So make sure your version, Brian shot first. The camera, that is.
Yeah, that would actually be an awesome shirt. I'd be the only one who cared, though. And you, I guess. We have a shirt, Brian shot first.
Well, and them, too. What? It's just you, us, and a few 700.
So when you see that shirt, that's us. This man, he's the idea man, and thank him for it.
That's who shot first.
Right, I'm Brian. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So, Brian, Plastic Galaxy, thanks a lot, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support.